you like?
Which side of your face is better?
Please. I don't care. I never thought about that, if it's right or left, but...
Ooh, it's a haze. We can't see you guys.
No. That's a good thing, probably.
First of all, thank you for having us.
Same
OnBrand.
from my side.
The show is superb and super cool. And I was hearing the story of how cool this brand has been growing, so it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. So thank you for having us.
This is Anuraag. I'm Béla. I'm not sure if everybody checked the pictures on the walls, but just to make sure we're clear on that. All right, make moderation cool. Anuraag, tell me a little bit, why would you come up with such a crazy idea? I mean, you want to sell beer, and at the same time you're trying to push moderation? I memean...
Right, so by the way, the caveat is this is a chat, okay? The original idea was going to be a fireside chat. There was going to be a fireplace here, and it's going to be a big rug, and that didn't happen, so we're going to still try and have a chat. So, and you can kind of listen in and be part of this chat. So I think the reason why I think this idea was very powerful when we first thought about it is because when you think about ourselves as a brewer and as a marketeer of an alcohol brand, you always worry about the people who abuse the use of the product. And I think that's something that we have to live with on an everyday basis, the excess use of our product. And a lot of companies and a lot of marketers have had this problem. And I think at one point we decided that if we are going to be the brand that is going to lead the conversation about this topic, we have to address it. We have to accept that this is something that we have to talk about. And I think that started a journey for us to try and reframe the problem that the industry faces in this topic. And I think putting a badge like cool next to the word moderation, suddenly as a marketer starts to become a more exciting conversation for us to have. I think that's how the journey started.
So I understand that by now you actually, are you coming? No, the clicker doesn't want. Oh, that doesn't want to. Excellent. That this by now has become quite a big, serious business for you. I mean, it's more than just a little lip sync you were doing here.
Yeah, so I think the reason I wanted to put this slide first is I've been in a few conferences and I've been in Cannes, and one of the things that people think when they hear this topic being talked about by Heineken, they think it's a sideshow. It's something you do invisibly, you know, behind the scenes as a PR thing. The reason I put this number here is you should look at our annual report. We spend 10% of our media money behind this topic, 10%. And Heineken is, I can't reveal the numbers, but Heineken spends a lot of money around the world to market its products. But when you commit to spend 10%, and we've been committing to do that over the last 5 years, it's a lot of serious investment going into promoting this point of view. So I just wanted to put that stage. So everything that you will hear about this conversation today is in the frame and the lens of 10% of the media spend on the Heineken brand gets spent on this topic. I think it's good to kind of put that up front.
Excellent. Now, I remember when we started this 5 years ago, moderation was still something where nobody was really talking about. But by now, I think we find ourselves in a world where moderation in general has become aspirational. So all these health trends have led to everything has to be done at a pace, at a moderation. You can't even overdo sports anymore, or drink too much water, or do this. So everything goes down this way. Now, the problem still is, though, that moderation, especially around drinking, has never been socialist. Such nobody posts on Facebook like, hey, I had a great sober night out. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's the problem, that if you are not able to be proud of a behavior, it's difficult to talk about it, and the wrong people talk about it, or the people who talk about it in a way which doesn't attach or attract the millennials of the world. So I think it's a complex problem that you have to find and address, which is, and when you're a beer brand, you know, you're social networking with the world, you have to find a way of addressing this topic in a way which is social. So I think that's something else that framed our thinking over the last 4 or 5 years as to how to find a social solution to a topic which nobody wants to talk about.
Excellent. Now, what I really admire is that you say, hey, every kind of product and every kind of service out there has some form of downside to its business. I mean, you cannot manufacture anything without having some form of downside to it, whether you use too much plastic or too much energy or whatever it is. Now, in your case, apart from using water, there's not really anything there. But then the downside that you're facing is that you're facing a problem outside of the consumption. I mean, when people consume a product, that's where excess is coming in. Now, how do you deal with that, or how do you deal with that compared to other people?
So I think Jean-Francois, who's my CEO, says it quite well, eloquently, and he says that, you know, we are not in the business of quantity, we are in the business of quality. And he says, I don't believe that we should be the brand and the company that basically promotes excessive consumption of our products. I'd rather have one person who enjoys our product versus one who overdoes it. And I think those people who work on the Heineken brand, and I'm just privileged to be one of those who's standing on the shoulder of giants, has always taught us that Heineken as a brand is a progressive entrepreneurial brand in the world. We were born in 1873, and we had the courage to cross our borders, and now we are in 192 countries of the world. And I think that progressiveness is what we try and instill into this topic and in this debate. And the other thing that I think we are very keen on is, and I'm kind of sharing with you our strategy in a way, is that we are trying to build men of the world around the world. Because we believe that there is a value in being a worldly citizen of the world, even if you are sitting in your own local country. And I think if you want to be a man of the world, you have to have certain behaviors and certain values that drive it. And the way you consume the product, the alcohol product, is part of that story. And I think that's the kind of shift that I think we are making on this topic in the company.
Now, when you look at the past, when we kind of started, we really faced the problem that everybody was, especially when you saw for governments were doing, NGOs were doing, they were kind of more going over, preaching, warning, hey, don't do this, bad consequences. But then you had that spark, that idea, hey, we need to go over this differently. I mean, is that what's in the brand DNA? We're saying, no, this is not our way of doing and talking about it?
Yeah, and I think there's a slide on the next one. And I want to say something, because there are marketeers in the room. Sometimes you actually hear an agency planner or an agency creative say something that you love so much that you steal it. And you steal it and you make it your own, and then you claim it all the time. So this is one of those stories where I basically saw this in a room in Paris, and this guy was there, and this was 2011, I think, and he wrote this, and he said, there are no limits when you know your limits. And I said, wow, that's super cool. That would be such an amazing way to actually frame the conversation about being a moderate drinker. And that actually started the creative journey for the Heineken brand to try and make a positive statement about moderation. So thanks to you, but now I own it, by the way. It's not yours.
Yeah, I know. That's how it goes. I mean, our point really was when we looked at the world of excess consumption, we always have this issue of there's a peer pressure out there. People still believe they're much cooler when they're drunk, and we had to frame it in a way to look at it from a positive side. And what's the positive side of when you're not drunk? And that's where we kind of ended up with there are no limits when you know your limits. Now, I think what that helped us is to actually get on the journey and really start getting out some communication out. And we started with the first time, which was then around 2012, where we said, you know what, to get this topic out there and to get away from all this preaching and warning that at that time was around the market, we need to think about differently. How can we actually encourage this quality over quantity, which is the mantra of the company?
and I think quality over quantity sounds cool, but a little serious. So we said, and it's funny, sorry, I have to digress, but we were coming after NASA. So I said, how the hell do you beat that? And I said to Béla, I said, the only way you can beat that is to actually tell human stories, because that's what I guess NASA misses, is human stories. So we're going to try and bring it back to earth and try and tell some human stories. And I think the journey for the Heineken brand on this topic was about, we put the word romance before quality over quantity. So we said, let's romance quality over quantity and tell a human story where there is a benefit at the end. And this was done a few years ago, but I'd love you guys to see what we did.
Now, I think the point, what we discovered here at that time was saying, when you are in control, when you are drinking in moderation, especially on a night out, so what are your benefits? I mean, if you totally plus that, you end up early. You go home almost before bang of midnight. But when you are in moderation and kind of in control, you have a much longer and possibly also more memorable night. And so that was our way to kind of romance, if you want, so quality over quantity, and not just banging the message out there. Well, shall we watch a film then?
Yeah, let's watch it.
Okay. Well, this was our first film that we did.
This is how we launched it.
As part of the campaign.
Yeah, so that's how we started the journey. We said, let's try and find a romantic conclusion to a moderate night. And I think that for us was the first time that we actually said no to our own product and our own advertising. And I don't think too many brands have done that. And we did it for a reason, because we wanted to be able to have the confidence to say, we are so confident about this attitude change that we would want our own product to be refused for landing the message. And I think it's thanks to my seniors, my bosses, my CEO, and the entire Heineken family who basically said, yeah, let's do that. And I think I'm very privileged to be able to be part of a company that has the guts, the balls, the bravery, and the courage to want to do that and do that consistently. So I want to thank them for that. But anyway, that was the steps. That was step one.
No, that was a step one, and that was a good start. And what it also helped us, it was discovering a little bit like the power of music in there, isn't it? I remember having used that tune that we did with Audrey Napoleon, DJ from, where was she? She was US, no? She was US,
she's from LA, yeah.
That we realized, hey, there is something in this whole music industry that we should further pursue. And so in 2014, what's here? Oh yeah, sorry, this is not.
I think you need to go back to the slide.
I guess if that's the slide.
Yeah.
No, that's the film. It's film back to film. Doesn't matter. In 2014, we felt, hey, now we've started the conversation around moderation, and with that, we have set a bit the pace of how we can go on about this differently. But what for the next step we had planned was we need to change really behavior.
Correct. And I think, again, I think when you listen to and you read nudge theory, you kind of look for small nudges of behavior change that you can kind of impact in the real day-to-day life. And one of the things we discovered was that if you are going to impact the millennials in the night, which is where we know the excess happens, you have to find role models in the night. And DJs, we knew, were role models of the night. People do what the DJs want them to do. And we said there might be an interesting angle to try and involve DJs as key opinion leaders to help us influence this debate, and again, make moderation cool. So I think that kind of led us to this idea of a partnership with Armin van Buuren, who at that time was basically trying to promote clean, music-loving EDM world. And he was basically fighting the cause of, the guys who come and watch my show, they come to watch my music, they don't come here to have excess. And we said, that's a cool cause that we could partner with. And we went to him and we said, would you like to partner with us on this? And he was like, of course, I would love to do that, because this is about people wanting to listen to my music, at the same time enjoying themselves in moderation with alcohol. And I think that started a partnership which got us to working with him and allowing him and working with him and seeing what he thought of the project. And he actually helped us shape the project as well, right? Remember?
And if I remember correctly, he even created a tune for us, isn't it?
Yeah, he wrote the track, yeah.
But the shift now is what we did differently. Instead of just doing a film, if you want to, as we did in the first instance, that we went on to kind of create an activation where we wanted to really prove the impact of moderation on a night out and how it can actually lead better to behavioral change. And that's when we did our campaign with Armin. Should I run it?
Yeah, let's watch a case study of that so you'll get a sense of what we did.
Okay.
Music can provide a natural high. DJs are responsible for giving you that high. If you as a DJ are boring, people need other stuff to be excited. I think if music is good, people hit the dance floor. And the more they dance, the slower they drink.
Right. So that was Dance More, Drink Slow. And that was the thing that we kind of used and Armin used when he was on tour and he kind of promoted a song and he promoted the album. And I still think Armin is still our ambassador. Every time he travels around the world and he plays music, he kind of promotes the Dance More, Drink Slow message. And again, I think that's part of the cultural change key opinion leaders can bring to the table. And we got more DJs involved, and we had DJ battles, and all promoting Dance More, Drink Slow. We had a 0-0 moment in the on-trade where at 0-0 we would serve water to basically promote the message of 0-0 and no alcohol moments. Again, this is like kind of we led the whole thing and we did it globally. We did stuff in Brazil and Chile, and because you have such a big canvas on which to do these things, it really was another way of actually taking the conversation or making moderation cool further.
I mean, that was really a cool time when it picked up to go travel into local markets. So obviously also thanks to Arm, and thought let's get behind this, and that's when I think it got the traction that we needed to go beyond just from a central point of view into locally activated. But we didn't stop here. We said, no, come on, we can, now that we're on this journey, we need to move forward. So we are at this stage, exactly, where we said, hey, now we have to raise our game. We started it, we kind of it started to change behavior. Now how can we come over from here and go from cool to sexy? And I think, the point was that our key target audience is obviously always young males, because there you find the problem it's come to its greatest extent. So we were wondering, what is it actually for them what means sexy? Where do they feel, hey, this is how I feel sexy, and how do they talk about this conversation? I thought that was an interesting...
Yeah. Again, you see, I hope you are getting the fact that we are constantly trying to find new angles to provoke and nudge and change behavior. So the new place we went to was men and women. So we said in the night, alcohol is drunk for social confidence, and then eventually picking up a guy or a girl, if you're single, and kind of going and doing something else afterwards. And we said, there is an interesting conversation there to be had about moderation. Let's get into that space and try and see whether we can find an interesting angle there. And we started to kind of explore what does moderation mean for guys and for girls. And we found some interesting differences that we thought we could explore. So maybe we should show them some of that stuff.
Yeah, so we showed some interviews that were done like in Paris and in London and here in Amsterdam, but they were never meant to be for public view, so I hope none of the people who filmed are in the room.
Yeah, we're going to show you stuff that should not be shown in public. So this was something that we were doing internally to kind of understand as to what the people were saying. So there might be a few things you might notice here which are a little bit like risque, but I'm sure you'll ignore it.
You're okay with that?
You look away.
Yeah.
So watch this.
Okay, let's go for that.
Ja, dat is wel weer makkelijk. Als je hebt gedronken, wordt het wel een stuk makkelijker. Ik heb er al veel toch. Maar we zijn er wel makkelijker. Het losser wordt en het gaat een stuk makkelijker.
Just because it gives you that, that swagger, that little bit of confidence.
You lose your inhibitions slightly.
You feel more relaxed, more comfortable.
A bit more confident, a bit more on top of the world, a bit more like go-getter.
Ouais, clairement, c'est beaucoup plus simple d'impressionner une fille. Déjà, tu fais n'importe quoi.
Boire me permet de me désinhiber.
Pour moi, elles ont besoin d'un mec qui boit. Parce qu'en fait, elles ont besoin surtout de rigoler pendant les soirées, elles ont besoin de se marrer.
I think girls don't care about your moderation or your excess as long as you can do the business.
2014, les filles aiment bien les mecs, les mecs à la cool, qui s'amusent beaucoup, qui profitent de la vie.
Quand j'ai bien bu, j'hésiterai pas une seule seconde à aller en tout cas discuter ou draguer une fille qui me plaît vraiment.
I think that being drunk is giving me more values and I am more interesting and I am more clever.
Ah ouais, zéro pression, totale confiance.
Ja, ik ben niet vaak dronken, maar als ik dronken ben, dan versier ik wel 2 keer zoveel vrouwen als normaal. Dat is niet gelogen, vraag maar aan mijn vrienden, hier staan ze.
Idiot. Anyway, so this is real, okay? So we saw this and like, this is bizarre. So then these guys showed me what they did with the women. They asked the same question to women and listen to what they said. Let's watch the other one, the second one, the women interview.
I clicked.
There's a second video, right? Yeah, this one, the women interview. Yeah, play that. Now watch this.
Shall I?
Plutôt un garçon qui boit avec modération, c'est plus sûr.
I'm more attracted to guys that are moderately drunk than drunken guys.
Modération.
Modération. It's embarrassing.
Als de jongen me aanspreekt, wil ik liever dat hij aangestoten is dan...
Because they're really pissed and they're a pain in the ass.
Non merci. Je pense qu'on a déjà toutes payé les frais d'un mec ivre à la maison. Jamais.
I would never take a drunk guy home.
Wij nemen liever een aangeschoten jongen mee naar huis dan een dronken jongen. Omdat, ja... Die weten nog een beetje wat ze doen en krijgen hem nog omhoog.
No. My dad would kill me. And no, I'd never do that.
Ja, dat is voor
Ze moeten nog wel wat kunnen presteren.
Ja,
Als je dat toch weer naar huis brengt.
Precies dat.
Hors de question de ramener un mec bourré chez moi.
Everybody has to get its job done. But
I hope this didn't offend anyone, but this was very funny for us. But I think it kind of told us something that was worth putting a Heineken lens on. We said, let's go and tell guys that if you think that if you get drunk, you're going to get more girls, you're dreaming. And we decided.
Sorry.
Wait, just one sec. And we decided, and please notice that this advertising is meant for guys, not for girls. So we went and targeted men, and we told women to send this to their boyfriends and friends. And we showed them this because we said, moderate drinkers wanted is a message that the men must understand. And we tried to make them feel stupid. Now, most marketeers would never dream of making their consumers feel stupid. But we said, that's the only way we can make them feel that moderation could be cooler if I was thinking about it. So moderate drinkers wanted became our anthem. And the way we executed it was, in my mind, a light-hearted but a belligerent slap across the face of our core target audience. And I'd love you to see it.
Where have all the good men gone? And where are all the gods?
Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds?
Isn't there a white knight upon a forest steed? Late at night I toss and turn and I dream of what I need. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero. Till the end of the night.
He's got to be strong.
And he's gotta be fast.
And he's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be sure and it's gotta be soon. And he's gotta be larger than life. Larger than life.
And I think that for us was, that's our current campaign right now. And again, I know it's polarizing, and I know there are people who kind of think, what are you doing? But again, I think it's a kind of a point of view where you are trying to disrupt the status quo. You're trying to basically provoke a conversation about this topic. And I think when you are being provocative, you have to risk having people kind of, criticize you, disagree with you. But that's the point, right? If you want people to kind of make a change in their behavior, you have to kind of provoke them. And I'm very proud of this work that you guys did.
No, Anuraag, now we've gone a number of years kind of tracking nightlife and trying to bring moderation into that. And I think the faster we went, the more films we kind of produced, more campaign ideas we had, the better we got. But then at some point, is there anything else we could have done? I mean, could we have looked beyond the nightlife situation? Could we looked into drink driving, for example? Is there anything?
And I think in the last year and a half, we've been very proud and privileged to become a sponsor in the Formula One world. You might have seen a few races if you follow Formula One. And we said that's the place where we must go even further and actually push the idea that moderation can be cool. But it's not about moderation in that space, which is, our point of view is when you drive, you never drink. It's an absolute. And the alcohol limits in different countries are slightly different and slightly varied, but we said, no, we have a very hard stance, which is when you drive, you never drink. And we said, let's find a space in that conversation of Formula One to make this thing a little bit more insightful and more relevant. And then we came up with this thought, which is, the best drivers don't drink and drive, then why do you? You can't argue with that. You cannot argue with that logic of, if the best racing drivers in the world are driving in Formula One, why do you? And to do that and to bring that to life, we basically worked with a guy called Jackie Stewart. He's a world champion. Formula One racing driver, but more than that, he's a statesman. He's a statesman for safety in Formula One. He introduced helmets. He introduced helicopter services to take racing drivers if they got hurt out. He basically shut down a racing circuit because he thought it was not safe enough, because so many of his friends had died racing in Formula One. So he said, let's use him as a role model and bring him in and actually help to make moderation cool in that space, but do it as a homage to his life. Do it as a homage to his greatness, but still tell a story about moderation and not drinking and driving. And this is, I guess, my favorite piece of work that we've done on the brand in a long time.
It's nice, it's true. Let's watch it.
Drink, sir?
Shut above our
No, thanks. I'm still driving.
like nothing could fall. We can be heroes.
Nice one.
Thanks to you. So I guess that for me kind of gets us. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me. Excuse me.
That's where we are today.
That's where we are today, right? So what were we saying? So we were saying this is where we are today. So again, we are using Formula One as a pedestal to promote the idea that when you drive, you never drink. We continue to say no to our product proudly because we feel that's a message that we must make. But we keep growing our business, and I think I want to say something very honest to you guys. This is not social service. We're in the business of brewing the best lager in the world. We're in the business of delighting today, yesterday, day after consumers in the world. But we want them to encourage them to change behavior. We want them to feel like it's worth being moderate for yourself and for your society and for your friends. And it's good business for us. Our business is growing. Look at our numbers. The Heineken brand is growing year on year. It's probably growing the fastest it's grown in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's not bad for business. And I don't have a problem saying this idea is good for business, because I think brands today have the right to help shape behavior change in the world for the good. Because we have the scale, we have the impact, we have fans. And I think brands like us should promote topics which are beyond just selling beer. So I have some numbers here. I'm sure that
these are some of the key numbers.
I mean, we track this. So, and for us, brand preference keeps going up. Purchase motivation keeps going up on a topic like this. Because of a topic like this, it's bizarre, but it's true. But more importantly, that I feel most proud of is that we are seeing a shift in behavior, in actual consumer behavior about what they think about this topic and what they would like to do moving forward. And we see that metric in all our big markets. And that really excites me about the fact that the stuff that we're doing is making a difference, and it's helping us as well as helping society in a way. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud of the partnership we had together.
I think, Anuraag, our time is nearly up. I'm craving for a beer.
I'm craving for a beer as well, actually.
We should really go and have one.
But before we leave the stage, the reason I want to just make sure you kind of felt this partnership. And you know, sometimes Béla has been part of this journey from the get-go, and I don't underestimate the power of a partnership with an agency and a planner and a creative. It's the secret sauce. Without it, you have nothing. So, you know, those marketers who think that, you know, we'll change agencies every day and we'll kind of find something new and agile and young and sexy, think again, because the longer you invest in the relationship with an agency like the agency I have, which is Publicis and a guy like Béla, is what gets us to as far as it's got us. And And I want to thank you for helping us get as far as we've gotten
Thanks
many
for,
years forward.
I want to pay you now. Thanks for nice words, man. Very nice.
That's it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.